Derek Loudermilk.
Nik Wood.
So, since this is going to be a joint episode, um, I'm going to welcome you to the Life Athletics podcast. And thanks for joining me.
And for listeners of the Derek Loudermilk Show, welcome to the Derek Loudermilk Show. Hey,
Awesome.
new podcast.
New podcast, new name, new podcast, new adventure. Throwback inside joke for anyone who gets it. Okay.
Probably
So,
almost everybody.
all right. You mentioned that you wanted to ask me about my exodus. Well, you asked the question.
So for a long time, I've heard you say when we were both living in Bali, and then I ended up starting a family and doing all this other travel, and you were staying in Bali, and you're like, sometimes you'd say, I got to get out of Bali. And but then you stayed for many years. It kind of sucked you in. But now you're in Brooklyn. Like you're the total opposite of Brooklyn is the opposite of Bali, right? So after hearing you say that, what was the actual impetus? Like how did that actually happen? Because for anybody that's listening, moving across the world, changing your whole life there's a lot of momentum in wherever we are, and to actually do that takes a lot. So I'm assuming there's something that happened that shifted for you that made you move.
Yeah, thanks for noticing. I'm going to take off the blue blocker glasses here because I forgot that we're filming. But the yeah, just where to jump in the story. Essentially, it was complete. the The funny thing about Bali is that people, once they're there, realize that Bali either sucks you in or kicks you out. And a lot of people get kicked out right away. We've seen this happen when we were in Bali. People would arrive, sometimes with plans to stay for a long time, and they would get sick, they would get injured, something would happen. They'd get thrown from a scooter, and they just had to leave. For me, it was the opposite. I showed up for a 5-day retreat and stayed for 5.5 years. And I did so because it felt like Bali spoke to me and said the things that you think you need to work on aren't what you need to work on, and things that you've been ignoring or haven't even been brought up to a conscious level are what you need to work on. And so I listened. Yeah, areas where I thought I needed to train up, people were telling me that I could run retreats at that level, I could give talks, and that I was much higher level than I was giving myself credit for. And then other areas which may have just been feeling too basic almost for me to look at were where I was really struggling. And so I had to go through a bunch of experiences where old traumas and dramas got drawn up and out of me. And then something clicked after this big sort of final boss feeling moment, like a video game, where all of that bubbled up to the surface, and I had to shift or go back into it. And once the shift happened, everything just felt different, and it was time to go.
Shift or go back into it.
Yeah, well, I think it's always possible to go back into drama or trauma. And so for those who don't know who I am, um, Nik Wood, I'm a coach and podcaster. And in some circles, I'm most known for having broken my skull just over a year ago in some weird freak accident at a breathwork workshop. And what a lot of people who know that part of the story don't know is that right before there, like, well, 2 months before that, almost to the day, I did a big trauma release process that was profoundly shifting. But I kept myself so busy right after it that I didn't take time to notice the shifts and let them integrate. I was just so
What was
excited.
that process
It's
called?
called internal family systems therapy. It's one of the few therapies in the back of the book, The Body Keeps the Score, that have a proven track record of actually working. And so that appealed to me. And what they say is that 2 8-hour sessions with a therapist while on MDMA and people are just over their trauma. I self-administered, now that I'm out of Indonesia, I guess I can say it, with psilocybin. And it was profound. I've never felt so loved, held, seen, and just clear internally than I did after that process.
Self administered, but did you have someone there supporting you?
No, I was by myself.
No. Okay.
Yeah. So it was similar enough to things that I've been trained in that I read as much as I could on it before going in, and it felt like I understood the process. And actually, something that you said years ago was something that gave me confidence to go into it on my own, which is you remarked at one point that I seem to be able to be firmly in an experience, feeling it fully, and narrating it at the same time. And I said something like, "Yeah, can't everybody?" And you said, "No, they can't." And so I I felt that whatever that is inside of me that's able to look at different parts of myself as they're happening and still be experiencing it as it's happening, uh, felt well enough suited. And really, the other part is I didn't know anyone around me who did this process, and I didn't want
Mm,
to wait.
yeah. I'm remembering when I first noticed that about you. We were like in line getting food at a the yoga barn or something like that, and you were going through something, and you were telling somebody, you were like, "Here's my experience, and here's what I'm learning," and I'm like in the middle of it right now, and I was like, you had this meta sort of looking down at your own character, but then
Yeah.
you're also experiencing it. And I was like, and then you're just like casually like, I don't even know if you knew the person in line. You're like, hey, you want to know like what I'm working on right now? Like, let me tell
Yeah.
you.
I'd like to blame Ubud in Bali, especially for that, but I might just have had a habit of oversharing. And but either way, yeah, it's it is a thing that people do there a lot. But anyway, it because I fractured my skull 2 months after doing that process, it's it it took me until I recovered from the skull fracturing enough for me to notice that my inner game wasn't the same as it had been before. That things were different. And so I had to back some people off to get enough space to actually feel that out. And yeah.
Do you think there's any connection between your head trauma on a on like a karma level and this work that you did?
Yeah, I'm not sure. People have asked that before, and possibly. And the thing that I haven't shared much was the last thought that I had before I injured myself, which was because I was at a breathwork workshop that I had attended with the same facilitators, with most of the same people at the same venue, 8 or 9 times scattered through the month prior to my injury, and I'd had no issue whatsoever. And so I went into this day thinking, well, this has been really great. I've been enjoying this breath work, but I haven't had the life changing breakthrough that I wanted to have yet. And so I'm committed to having that today. I
Wow.
closed my eyes and woke up a week later in the hospital with a fractured skull. So, and one of the first thoughts that I had there was that it felt like the end of Fight Club, where the Ed Norton character shoots himself in the head to get rid of Tyler Durden.
Whoa.
And so I don't know if part of me needed to die. Like I didn't consciously go and headbutt the post that I hit my head on. It was a support beam pillar thing. Um, I don't remember doing that, but
For those watching, show me your scar. You've got this just peeking out there, but it's like all the way across your head. Look at that. Wow.
yeah, I have. I saw a picture the other day of my head opened, and
Ugh. Ugh.
I counted 11 little titanium joiners.
Ugh.
So
That gives me the willies. I'm not a
I'm
doctor
sorry.
for a reason.
That Damn it, man, I'm a scientist, not a doctor.